Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of the Golf Strong Project. My name is Dr. Jackson Taylor, coming to you live from Jacksonville Beach, Florida, joined as always by my Bostonian brethren, Dr. Tim Rivotto. Tim, what's up?
Nothing. Another good week. Not too much rain up here. The rain seems to be going. It poured a little yesterday, but we've got sunshine in July here.
Like every podcast starts with weather.
That's it. I'm a big weather guy. Golf is a big weather sport. You got to know your weather. You know what I mean?
Here, you can't play between the hours of 2 and 6 because the chances of monsoons and lightning strikes are at like 60 to 70% every night.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
But hey, what are you going to do? So we are going to have a little fun conversation today. So we're going to talk about considerations, specifically training considerations for the golfer. And that's going to be things such as a professional golfer versus an amateur golfer, or a new novice training, or you've not been in the weight room before versus someone who's been training their whole life, or they've played multiple sports and they've been in the weight room, they understand it. We're going to get a little bit into things such as what old and young golfers should do, and then probably wrap up a little bit talking about different goals that people have, whether that be they want to lose weight, they want to get stronger, they want to have bigger muscles. I'd love to look good naked in my Speedo in Venice Beach, whatever it ends up being. We're going to talk about all those fun things today. So that's our main goal. We're going to run through all of that and just make it happen. So let's start first with kind of this discussion of pro golfers versus amateur golfers in how training looks. Maybe, and we'll dabble a little bit, especially into how their golf training looks, but specifically their fitness training. So first of all, let's define how we're going to define professional versus amateur. So Tim, what does that look like to us for this conversation anyways?
Yeah, so pros, professional golfers, we're talking anyone that basically makes money or makes a primary living off of playing golf, right? So PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, European Tour, Corn Ferry, even like some of the mini tours. So, if you're like getting by playing mini tour events every weekend and playing through the summer, I'd consider you a pro golfer too. And then if we're talking amateur, we're more talking like you or I, like just people playing on the weekends, a couple days a week, just trying to get out there, have fun, get some movement in, and play better golf every week.
99.99% of the golfers in the world.
That's it. The majority.
Pretty much. Which is who we're going to speak to most directly, at least for today's conversation. We want to explain to the majority of our audience, which is going to be amateur golfers, what your consideration should be relative to pros. Because obviously you look at the front of Golf Digest, you're looking at any website, and you're getting a lot of info on, well, this is how DJ trains, or this is how Justin Thomas trains, and this is what they do. And yes, there's some overlap there, but there are some differences that we have to look at. So the first one I think we should really talk about is scheduling. And pros versus amateurs do not have the same schedules. The average person has a job. They've got a family, they've got kids, and they don't make money playing golf. Whereas professional golfers, that's what they do for a living. Their life is golf. They live, eat, sleep, breathe golf. So when it comes to scheduling, Tim, why is that an important piece of an amateur golfer's consideration?
Yeah, well, it is going to be time out of your free time, right? Because if you got work, if you got kids with playing sports or stuff like that, there is a narrow window to fit it in. But it's like we talked about last week, the benefits of having some sort of physical activity or exercise or training, just basically a time scheduled during the week that you can test your body and push it a little bit and, pick things up, put them down, push things around, and just kind of get moving. The better you're going to be physically, mentally, and when you actually do get out on the golf course on the weekend, you're going to be feeling much better. So scheduling wise, you might have a tighter window or a shorter window, where a pro might take 90 minutes a day to really work on their body, on strength, on power. And we can talk about whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, but they probably have a little more time to dedicate directly to their body. Whereas if you're an average Joe, you've got a lot pulling you in several different directions.
Yeah, and I think something to piggyback on that is the fact that with that time being so limited, understand that yes, we want to get better at golf, and that's an important piece of our life. So that also means that we don't want your training time to take away from your golfing time. Mm-hmm. And again, like Tim just said, the average pro golfer's got that extra time per day to devote to the gym where it doesn't really impact any of their practice time or playing time. Because the average amateur golfer wants to just go play more golf. They want to go play 9 holes during the week. And they just want to get better that way. So we don't want to impinge, especially for people that have tough schedules where they get out of work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and they want to try and go get in a few holes or get to the range before that closes. Obviously, we don't want to impinge on that time with training. So that's a big consideration when it comes to figuring out what the right program is for you, including how many days per week you're going to train. I know that I always start with like we've discussed already, physical activity guidelines from last week. If I can get you in the gym twice a week, we can make changes. Even if it's just twice a week, you might not be able to get in there 5 days a week or even 3 days a week, like many pros are, or like many other people who have just different schedules than you do. But if I can get 2 good days out of you a week in the gym, that makes all the difference in the world. You don't have to go do the exact same workout that Justin Thomas is doing in order for you to improve your physical well-being to play better golf. You have to do what is best for you. And for some people, doing something is always going to be better than doing nothing, especially if we can make those 2 days that you're in the gym as pertinent and specific to you so that you can improve in whatever ways those are.
Definitely. And not only your own schedule counts here, but the gym schedule too, right? Because I know my gym is really busy. Yeah. If I were to go after work at anywhere from probably, really 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's going to be mobbed, right? So you're not going to be as effective. So it's not really the best time of day to go. So knowing that, you'd want to work around your schedule for the week, what you have after work and that sort of thing. What's a time of day that you can get there easily as far as traffic and all that, and how much actual foot traffic is in the gym as well. So you can just get in, do your stuff, get out. You're not, bumping elbows with people, fighting over equipment or that sort of thing.
Right. Absolutely. And that actually kind of ties well into one of the other considerations that we have, which is equipment. Mm-hmm. And so the average pro has whatever they want, whenever they want it. The average amateur is going to have different gym setups. They might only be able to work out from home. They might have a gym, but like you just said, they can only go at certain times. And so it's important for people to understand that there's also not one piece of equipment that is necessary for training. If you don't have a barbell, that's okay, right? If you don't have some of these boxes to jump on, if you don't have some of these medicine balls to use, that's okay. We're going to be able to adapt without having those. And a lot of times, like we just talked about, people get caught up in, well, if it's not the exact same thing that some of these pros are doing, it's really not going to benefit me the way that I would like it to. And so it's important to realize that no matter what your equipment is, we can optimize it. We can use it in a way that is effective. That could be something as simple as, hey, you only have 1 kettlebell, or you have a set of dumbbells to 25 pounds. Do you know how much stuff you can do with implements that light? I mean, shoot, TRX has made a living off of a single piece of equipment being able to do a lot. Now, is it going to necessarily optimize your physical capabilities? Maybe not, but they're going to improve. You can get stronger. You can get more powerful. You can improve the trainable qualities of the golfer. So yes, if we have more equipment, we can do more stuff, but we don't need all of it. So don't get caught up thinking you have to get some crazy gym membership or you have to go spend $3,000 on a house gym to get all of these things. Golfers are notorious for spending money for no reason. They'll go buy things, the newest trinket that will help fix their slice, or the newest trinket that's going to add 20 yards to my drive. They go buy these things, they use them for a week, and then they're gone. They're not consistent things we can use. So it's important to understand that you don't need all these crazy bells and whistles. You need less gimmicky stuff and more. Your programming needs to look specific to you, improving the qualities of mobility, power, and strength that the golfer needs to perform.
100%. And really, I like to start people with home workouts where they don't have much. Like if they say, all right, I've got 10-pound dumbbells and that's it. Sometimes that's awesome, because then you're just building the habit of doing something 2 days a week, 3 days a week, however often, fits with your schedule and what your goals. But then you've built the habit off of very minimal. And then now you have the habit, so you can buy a couple extra pieces of equipment, or, then expand the home gym once okay, I like this. I've got stuff I can do. I'm feeling good. Then you can start looking into some of the fancier stuff.
I agree. You can always get more.
Mm-hmm.
You can always get more. But a lot of times you just have to start with getting people to move their own bodies a little bit.
That's it.
Which is part of the battle. And I think that that's important for people to notice here too, is that a lot of people think that they need to go from 0 to 100 when it comes to training. So I just had this conversation. I did a seminar yesterday over at Sawgrass Country Club. And we talked about how, because somebody asked, well, how many days a week do I need to train? That's an important thing, right? And this is where our next consideration comes is, well, how much have you trained in the past? How much are you training now? If you're a completely sedentary person for the most part, and all you're doing is golfing, adding just 2 days a week of training is actually a lot for you. That's doing way more than you were doing before. That's probably where we're going to start, is just getting 2 good days in. But if you are, Tim, and you're training 4 or 5 days a week right now, we're not necessarily going to change that. We're just going to look at what those workouts are and adjust them based on what we think he needs. So it's important to understand that every person is going to have a little bit of a different starting point. We see all of these template programs. It's one of the reasons that I believe so much in coaching, like what Tim and I do, is because we're able to create something that is you specific. Because you might download some program and say, this is Dustin Johnson's 12 weeks to a better swing program. And sure, maybe it'll help you, but are you able to actually do 5 days a week of training? Do you have the prerequisite equipment to do this 12 weeks of training? Are you competent in any of these movements that are being asked of you? All of those things, there's always nuance, and there has to be context when we're talking about what people's training looks like. So if you're not training at all, I don't expect you to go to 4 days a week of training and just be like, yeah, this is great. The chances are you're not going to stick with it. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, is that your program does not have to go from 0 to 100. In fact, there's some people that are really on the top end scale. Like if I've got someone who's like, yeah, dude, I'm training 5 days a week and I'm in there in the morning and then I hit the range in the afternoon, and I got like 3 extra cardio days. There are 3 cardio workouts I'm doing at these different dates. Those are the kind of people I'm like, hey, we need to rein some of this in, because your energy is being expended in areas that aren't actually benefiting your golf game or really your health at this point. Because you just keep telling me that you're exhausted, but you just got to keep getting after it. So your personality plays a role in that.
No, absolutely. And knowing, what days of the week you're playing and that sort of thing can help too. Because I know, I used to lift 5 days a week, basically Monday through Friday, and Friday just happened to be a heavy leg day. Then you go to play golf Saturday after a heavy leg day, it doesn't go well. And, I'm not playing for any money, but I want to have fun and play well, right? So I just reorganize the week a little bit, and then you don't have that heavy leg feeling on Saturday, Sunday, or whatever day your golf is. So that's somewhere that a coach can fit as well, is just making sure we're slotting the right days to target the right areas. And, if you have an off season, like up here in the Northeast, basically between, December and, March or April, you can't really play. So you could probably do some different things and play around a little bit more, because being sore isn't going to impact your Saturday round. Right. So it definitely takes a little trial and error. And I just want to reiterate, you don't want to go too hard too soon, because we've all been there where you haven't worked out for a little while. You go to a really hard, whatever, either class at the gym, or you go for a really fast run or something like that. And then you're sore for a week and you really can't work out for the rest of the week. So it's wait a second, if I went a little softer and just was a little more kinder to myself, let myself warm up to this, maybe you could have gotten in 2 workouts that week instead of 1. It's just simple.
Whatever, Tim. I'm not going to be out here going softer. Mamby-pamby. I'm out here to get jacked and hit bombs.
Sometimes. Don't make yourself sore all the time. Damn it.
That's true. This is true. People do go too hard a lot of times. But Tim makes a good point about off seasons. And so for an amateur golfer, especially where I live in Florida, people can play all year round. They don't per se have an off season. And, there is something to say that not everyone needs an off season. We may just undulate people's programs based on, if they've got a tournament coming up versus if they're just playing regularly and they're just working on something. So that does depend. Now, a professional golfer, yes, they need to be considering things like their off season because they have things like flights, travel, family that they've got to work out. They've got to work out when they've got to be with sponsors. They've got to work out when these tournaments are and what their training looks like. All those things matter. So it's important for us to always keep that in mind when we're making that up on the fly. I don't need per se someone to take a break, but sometimes it is encouraged especially where I am down here where people can play year round, where I'm like, hey, let's play maybe one less round a week over the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks, maybe even 10 weeks. And we're going to really emphasize some higher stuff in the gym based on your goals. You're like, hey, I'd really like to be a little bit more powerful, a little bit stronger. And I'm okay with cutting back a little bit on how much I'm golfing to do that. Yeah, we'll adjust your game plan from there. So that is a big consideration, is how much you're playing golf.
Oh, definitely. So it's there are a million ways to skin a cat, right? So you just got to find the one you're going to do, the one you're going to use.
I like a million ways to skin a cat versus there's more than one way to skin a cat.
There's at least a million.
There's at least a million.
Think about
it. Poor any cat people on here. Go away.
Yeah, I don't really care if we lose them. They can stay if they want, but I don't really care if we lose them.
Yeah, it's not a hard. I just lost my girlfriend right now. She's gone, but she's a veterinarian. That's what she does. I mean, she has to.
It's all animals. Cats. It's not just cats. That's just all animals.
I can't do cats. I kicked my buddy's cat not too long ago. We were watching. It's a great story. Sorry, segue. Watching Harry Potter. This was like 2 years ago, maybe. And I'm sitting on the couch and I fell out cold. And all of a sudden I felt like some pressure in the top of my calf and something on my toe. And I get out of my dazed state and look down, and this cat whose name is Kimasabi has his calf and his mouth around my big toe.
What?
And I looked up, and he's this big fat cat. And he takes his claws slowly out of my calf, knowing that he's been caught. Get your fat ass off me, dude. Reflex went back and kicked that cat 15 feet. And he hits the ground and gets back to his feet and runs off. Dude, my buddy and his wife, to this day, if you tell them that story, they just pee themselves because I absolutely booted that cat and screamed at that was the end of my cats were already on the end there. That was the end. Cat biting my toe. We're done. We're out.
Yeah, that's just a cat being a jerk. And I mean, hey, unfortunately, I think that happens more often than not. Yeah.
They're all jerks. Let's just keep dogs. Isn't that right, bud? Murphy is better today, by the way. Golf Strong family. His trachea is fine. Or the good doctor looked him over, and apparently he's good to go. Right now, he is just out cold, preparing for our move tomorrow. But anyways, good opportunity. Shout out to Black Rifle Coffee Company for being our official sponsor of the Golf Strong podcast and caffeinated excellence worldwide. We love all you do all day long, every day. That's the end of our official sponsorship list. Oh, gosh. All right, let's talk young and old. Let's talk about considerations for a younger individual starting training versus an older individual starting training, because there are going to be some differences. So, Tim, what are we looking at from a consideration there?
Yeah, so the first consideration I have, especially when we're talking young versus old, is the kind of recovery process, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're younger, you're likely going to recover a little quicker. You could probably do a little bit more as far as like volume goes. So to define kind of volume, it's the number of sets of an exercise and times the number of reps, right? So if you're doing 3 sets of 10, you're doing, basically 30 reps or so. So younger people can just handle a little bit more of that, recover a little bit quicker, whereas the same workout to a 50-year-old might make them a little more sore or tired or just feeling the effects of the workout for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that all is completely true. Your younger athlete does tend to recover a little bit easier than your older athlete, specifically golf. And so we just make those considerations. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the older golfer doesn't work out 4 days a week. That just means that we're managing, like Tim was just talking about, their volume. So my younger athlete might have days where they're going to lift heavier per se, which is an increase in volume, right? The weight being used does change the volume, because 3 sets of 10 of my body weight may not be a lot of volume. 3 sets of 10 at 200 pounds could be a lot of volume for me. So those things are going to be subjective to the person. So yes, we're going to have some changes in their volumes, but a lot of it's going to be what they can handle. It's one of the reasons why I use the RPE scale for every client that I work with, is because it allows me to have a way to see how hard they are working and can recover from how hard they are working. So we'll do a whole talk on RPE at some point. But that does make a role. The other thing that we have to consider is, generally speaking, younger people do not have as many medical issues as those who are older. So when it comes to obesity, although that seems to be changing, and that is a really tragic thing for the US, is childhood obesity. But obesity, smoking, we're talking about high blood pressure, diabetes, coronary artery disease, all of those things tend to be more present in our older populations. That's just the natural part of life. You don't see a lot of 20-year-old kids dying of heart disease. And so we have to understand those things when it comes to, or you need to understand that as a older golfer, that what physical limitations are we dealing with, or are you dealing with, that we have to work around. Maybe you are a type 2 diabetic, and we need to start figuring out, maybe getting you with a nutritionist and getting you on a fitness program. That's not going to look like my 25-year-old who's full of piss and vinegar and the world is their oyster. That's a really important thing, because people will just go gung-ho and they're not considering some of their, comorbidities they're dealing with. And again, that doesn't mean we can't, train. It just means that we have to edit what that training looks like to best work for you.
That's it. It's really getting comfortable with it, like we're saying, just building that habit, knowing how hard you can push yourself. And, if you have something serious going on, going to your doctor and saying, hey, how hard do you think I can push myself? And then using that as your starting point and adjusting as you need to from there. So you definitely need to be aware, especially heart and lung type issues, COPD, heart disease, that sort of thing. I mean, those are the big ones that we've just got to make sure you're like, just keep a running tab of how you're feeling as you're, especially if you're new and older, you've never exercised in your life. I think an important part of the education process for us is helping people realize what's bad pain and good pain, right? So if you've never worked out in your life and you're starting to feel a little burning in your muscles, sometimes that can be scary. Like, oh my gosh, is that my heart? And being able to differentiate like a sharp chest pain versus okay, my pecs, my chest muscles are just really working hard, sore, tired, and pumped out. That's an important distinction to be able to make.
Well, and you brought up pain. That is another consideration we have to make for golfers is, have you had pain golfing in the past? Have you had pain working out in the past? And again, that's completely subjective to you. Pain is your experience. If you tell me something hurts, I have to believe that you feel that thing hurts, right? Now we're just going to adapt what we do based on that. So if you say, hey, I've really had trouble in the past with squatting because it hurts my knees, that's information I need to have. Because if you just grab some cookie cutter program that says, hey, you need to squat twice a week, you're like, oh, I can't squat twice a week. So how do I do that? I had a guy ask me yesterday, he goes, hey, the guy was giant. He was like 6'8".
Ooh.
And he was like squatting really bugs my knees. Older gentleman. It's like squatting really hurts my knees. And so I really don't do a lot of it. And today you were talking about how squatting is a big part of people's programs. And I said, yeah. He's like, but the leg extension machine doesn't bother my knees. He was like, so is that an okay replacement? And I was like, yeah, of course. And some people will be like, oh, the leg extension machine, you're going to hurt your knees. Your patella's going to come out. That's a bunch of bullshit, just so we're on the same page. If people can get a good workout in where I'm actually getting them to be able to build some quad strength and squatting is bothersome to them, maybe we'll introduce it in different ways using a chair or a TRX or I don't know. But it doesn't have to be that exact movement. And so if you've had pain doing any kind of movement in the past or golf has bugged you in the past, that will cause us to make changes to your fitness program. That influences what I'm going to prescribe you when it comes to things like hip hinges or deadlifts or any kind of pressing movements. We're going to change things based on if you've had pain in the past. That's a very big consideration that sometimes people don't think of, or they just push through or they avoid. Oh, my elbow's really killing me, but I got to do this workout because it's what's prescribed. Or, you know what? I'm just not going to do any of this stuff on here because it hurts me. I'm just going to do these 3 things over here. So we're either wasting time or not putting enough time in where we should when it comes to training, especially around pain.
Oh, absolutely. There's for me, at least, when I'm talking strength training with my clients, it's working your muscles until they feel tired. That's the goal. We want your muscles to feel tired, and we want to work in that zone where your muscles feel tired and then move on to the next thing and make those muscles tired. So however we can achieve that, we can work around injuries or pain or anything else, preferences. So that's I think the only other point I wanted to make for young versus old is as far as setting up workouts. I think when you're with the younger folks, like teenagers really, or younger, sometimes, I started lifting when I was 10. You want to make it fun, right? Yes. So you want to kind of make some sort of a game out of, you want to do your staples of your squats and your deadlifts, but you also want to build some fun into the plan. So it's not just boring. You want people to, especially young people, to associate exercise, training, challenging your body with a good, positive experience, atmosphere. So, I do that with everyone, right? I want everyone to have fun, but it's definitely making games out of it, or competition, especially when you're younger, is important, I think. Because I used to work next to a Bose office. So there were a lot of software engineers that would come in, and they were just like, they couldn't care less if it was fun or not. They were just going to tell me what to do. I will do it according to protocol because that is logical and we are good. And then you get like a 12-year-old kid coming in and they're like, I don't want to do like another 12 squats. And it's like, all right, well, let's just, I don't know, pick up this heavy ball and throw it around. Yeah. So it's I agree. We've got to make sure that you are looking at the person in front of you. I think that's where that customized plan comes in. Yeah. How old are they? What do they like to do? What have they done in the past? And, what kind of a person are they? Are they serious and kind of logical? Are they more kind of creative and fun, and just making sure you're doing things that fit with who you are? Yeah.
There is no one size fits all.
Totally.
Sure, 2 people can do the same program. Tim and I can get on the exact same strength program and we'll probably see results. But is it the best results? Is it the optimal results? I had a guy yesterday that was like, dude, I did 2 years of training with this TPI guy and it just got kind of stale. It's like we did the same stuff over and over and over and over, which Tim and I both know in the rehab world, that's the name of the game, is people do the same shit over and over and over and over. And that's your plan of care. Hey, you got better. Well, it's been 2 months. They're probably going to get better anyways. But you have to understand that you do want to make it fun. It should be enjoyable. You should like to go to the gym. Doesn't mean you have to get there and love it. You're like just a gym rat, but you should enjoy the workouts you're doing. We can change every variable and movement known to man. There's a million ways to skin a cat. Well, guess what? There's a million ways to squat. There's a million ways to do a hinge. There's a lot of different movement variations we can use that will benefit you, the golfer. That does not have to be cookie cutter. Right? It's just going to be inside of a realm, like some kind of squat, some kind of hinge, some kind of press, some kind of carry. All of that plays a role. So Tim actually mentioned something that's going to be kind of our next topic here, which is he was talking about how I want my guys' muscles to be tired. Our goal is that they get tired from movement to movement. What I want you guys to hear is he did not say, I need you to feel tired like your cardiovascular system, right? So let's talk a little bit about differences in goals with training, right? Because a muscle being tired per se and me feeling like I'm breathing heavy are not necessarily going to be in the same specter. So let's chat a little bit about that, Tim. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between getting strong and improving my cardiovascular health. And are those the same? Should those look different? What would that be to someone that you were talking about this with?
Yeah, I like to separate the two to activities that get your heart rate up, that get you breathing heavy and get you sweating, right? So those fit in that bucket that we talked about last week with the physical activity guidelines. That fits in that bucket of the kind of moderate intensity. So that's still conversational, right? So if you're walking or running with someone, you could talk back and forth and not just be panting out of breath and trying to get one word out at a time.
Right.
Or you can be doing that aerobic, like vigorous heart rate, getting up there, and that type of thing. So you want that, especially if the goal is, golf is a little different, but if you have some goal outside of golf for endurance, like run a race or do a 3-day breast cancer walk or, something along those lines, that's going to fit in that aerobic, just physical activity is going to fit in very nicely.
Yep, 100%. And the important thing here for everyone to understand is that a guy asked me this yesterday. He's like, well, how many sets and reps should I do? What does that look like? So let's give you kind of a brief, broad talk on what that looks like. So when it comes to strength movements, generally speaking, we're going to sit in especially for people that aren't looking to get max numbers. Really, I've only got one guy I train right now who really cares about max numbers. So what I mean by that is like a 1 rep max back squat or a 1 rep max bench press or a 1 rep max deadlift or a 1 rep max WEP. That's really hard to say quickly like that.
I know you kind of lulled me into a trance there.
I know one web that. I had no Webbits. Anyways, so 1 rep max, clean and jerk or snatch or any of those things where it's a 1 rep. Very few people, especially our older golfers, are going to do any of those things. So most of the time from a rep perspective, we're going to be looking at like the 3 to 5 sets of 4 to 8 repetitions. That's mostly where I sit people. To be honest, 4 sets of 6 is where I sit a lot of people because it's pretty good volume. It allows them to recover. Mm-hmm. And for your average person, that works out. Now, that's very broad. I have some people that do 10 sets of 4, and I've got some people that do 3 sets of 10. 3 sets of 10. But generally speaking, when it talks to strength, we want to keep it south of 8-ish reps. Mm-hmm. Because once you get beyond that, your muscles are failing. And that's because they're fatigued to the point of, we've got some lactic acid buildup and they're not able to produce. So think of it like this. If you were to sprint as fast as you could, most people by the time they got to 50 meters, maybe, wouldn't be able to run any faster because their legs would feel heavy. It's not because their lungs are tired. It's that their muscles have produced so much waste at this point that they physically can't make them do anymore. So what we want in the gym is more of that when it comes from a strength perspective. We want you to feel like when you're moving the weight, you couldn't do a couple more reps, not because you can't breathe, but because your muscles are actually starting to fail. And so that's an important thing for people to understand. Now, when it comes to endurance, understand that for the golfer, the only thing let's do this. Tim, how much endurance is necessary for a golfer, period? What's the bare minimum you think is necessary for a golfer?
Say if you're riding in a cart, being able to get out of the cart, walk to your ball and make 85 swings, whatever you're going to shoot. Right. And if you're walking, all you're going to do is add to that whatever's required to walk that 18 holes.
Boom. You guys just got the best knowledge bomb you could ever get. The base level of conditioning you need to play golf is either A, be able to get in and out of the cart, walk to your ball, walk back, and not have it hinder you for 18 holes. Or B, be able to walk the course for 18 holes without letting it hinder you later on. So that is a consideration we'll make with people, is if they say, hey, from hole 12 to 18, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. We start looking at things like, well, what's your endurance look like? We also look at things like the weather. Here, it's 98 degrees right now. It's really, really hot. So what's your nutrition look like up to that point? What does your water intake look like? What's your electrolyte intake look like? All of those things play a role, but those are important things to consider, because golf is not a conditioning sport. It's not like running a 5K. You're not a cyclist. You're none of those things. We want to have a base level of cardiovascular ability, which is a very important thing. And I want you to be able to get some, especially from like a body composition standpoint. Like, it's good to get some interval training in, even if it's just on a bike where we're doing like heavy intervals or faster intervals for a short period of time. It's just good, generally speaking, for body comp and for your heart and lungs. But when it comes to just being able to golf, I just need you to be able to do the things we just talked about without making it affect your golf game. So we've talked about strength. We've talked about kind of cardiovascular work briefly. Let's talk a little bit about what it would look like to, how do you want to talk about this? Power is always the big thing that we've discussed, because golf is a power sport. So how does power fit in our training with that little cardiovascular work and the strength work? Where does power, where do we sneak that in, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I usually sneak it in with, I'll do one kind of power or speed movement in like kind of the warm up. I give most of my people like a 5-minute warm up of just getting your body moving before whatever you're going to do. So like if you're squatting that day, you're doing some body weight squats, maybe you're doing some lunges, you're doing some, just some movements to get your heart rate up, get your blood flowing. I'll usually put like a set or two of something in there where it's like a medicine ball slam or throw or something like that, right? Where they're just getting, you're really targeting or emphasizing the fast, strong type 2 muscles, right? Mm-hmm. The ones that are going to create force really quickly. And that's going to help you produce, more club head speed. I'll also throw those in at kind of I like to throw them at the end of a strength workout. So you can get your, you do your 5-minute warm up or so, you do your like two to three kind of main exercises for the day and get your muscles good and tired there. And then I usually follow it up with a little bit of kind of speed work, whether it's medicine ball stuff or pushing a sled or just jumping in your backyard. I tend to like to do it that way. Yeah. How about you? Do you structure it any differently?
So most of the time, the way that I look at power, and this is the way that if you think of it, I want 100% of whatever you can produce as fast as you can produce it, mm-hmm. right? The goal, and that, keep in mind that just means moving with intent. And so one of the things that I talk about a lot with people is, even if I am doing, say, a back squat, or I'm doing a goblet squat, because that's used by a lot of people, your descent, or when you sit down, is going to be with good control. But when you go to stand up, I want you thinking in your head, how violently can I stand up? With control, but how violent can I stand up? Your intent is to move fast and quick, right? And remember, that's what the golf swing is. It is violent elegance. It is the ability to get that club back and swing with absolute speed, but it is controlled. And in the weight room, we mimic that by doing things at maybe not, 100% isn't what our golf swing is. I don't ask people to swing as fast as they can, as hard as they can, because most of the time they can't control that. We might do that from a training perspective if we want to, similar to what people have seen Bryson do recently, where he's trying to produce as much club head speed as he can. And by being able to do that, he naturally increases his 75% more than it was before. So, but other than in the gym, I want to emphasize how fast you can move something. So if it's a med ball slam, I honestly, in my mind, want you thinking, can I put this ball through the floor? Can I put it through the wall? Right? And your average athlete, a guy asked me this yesterday, he's like, well, vertical jump I know has this big correlation to increasing club head speed. I'm 80 years old. I can't jump. I was like, you're right. I wouldn't ask you to jump.
Right.
What I would ask you to do, though, is if you're doing an exercise or like a body weight squat, maybe, I want you to stand up as quickly as you can and get up onto your toes and just try to really produce force. When you throw a medicine ball or push it in the air, I don't know what it looks like, a very light implement, move it with as much speed as you can. So for me, I tend to put that right in the beginning of people's workouts, or I couple them. So so I'll give you the one that I did the other day. So it's a medicine ball chest pass into the floor, and I go right into a dumbbell bench press at that point. So I will so for me, it's like an 8-pound medicine ball. I'll bend over, and in my mind, I'm thinking, how hard can I push this ball into the ground? So I slam hard as I can, rest for about a few seconds, do it again 2 more times. Then I go directly into a dumbbell bench press, right? There's some research on being able to do something that's almost like priming the nervous system to produce speed. And that's what I'm looking to do. And then when I get to my bench press, it's not necessarily that it's slow and controlled the whole time. I'm down with control, and then I'm driving out with intent. I'm trying to move that weight as fast as I can. That doesn't mean that weight has to move fast, but it means I'm trying to move it fast. I'm trying to recruit all of those muscle fibers to actually help me move that object. And so that is an important thing. That's what I look at as power, is we are moving something with as much intent as we can. Ideally, that's going to be light, right? Power, so let's talk about absolute strength and power. So absolute strength is your power lifter, right? If they put 600 pounds on their back, it doesn't matter if it takes them 2 seconds or 60 seconds to stand up. If they stand up, they have the absolute strength to stand up, right? Power is a little bit different. That is the ability to produce something fast, right? It's a certain amount of weight quickly. That is your shot putter. That is, we're watching the Olympics right now. I think shot put might have started today. You're seeing people move an object that it's actually heavier than people think, as quickly as they can and as far as they can. Because the heavier that becomes, you're not able to produce as much force into it because your body can't move quickly.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing I see people do in my gym, at least, is they're doing some good exercises like, med ball throws or something like that, but they've got a 20-pound medicine ball and you see them just lurching to heave this thing, and it's really not fast at all. So you're maybe you're working hard, but if you're really trying to, build some speed and some power, you're better off taking the 8 or 10-pound medicine ball. I think Mike Boyle does a lot of college hockey players and pro hockey players. I think he only has 10, maybe 12-pound medicine balls in his gym.
Maybe.
Because there's just not. He would rather work light and go as fast, like you said, just as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and just get your body kind of twitchy and like used to just making some force.
Right. And that's one of the big perks that let's use this as a better example. It's one of the reasons why I don't like people swinging heavy things, thinking that it's going to make them stronger in the golf game. We've said this before. We'll say it again. The gym does not have to mimic the golf course. Your exercises do not and really should not mimic the golf swing. Yeah. Because when Tim just made a great point talking about heavy things. The heavier something is, your body has to produce a different motor pattern to be able to heave that thing. So when your body is having to do that, it's creating this new pattern that if you try to apply that to the golf club, it's not the same. That golf club will always weigh the same, right? You need to leave golf for golf. Practice golf when you're on the course, when you're at the range with your pro. The gym, I don't need that to look like the golf swing, especially because if you're trying to do things that mimic the swing, your body's learning something new about how to use force. And a 20-pound medicine ball and a golf club are not the same thing. So that's why our goal is always speed. That's not making you have to heave something, or it's making your body have to contort. It should be something where your body's able to maintain the mechanics that we want and yet still be violent. Right? It's one of the reasons why the vertical jump is such a good predictor of club head speed, because it tells me how powerful you are, and all you're doing is moving your own body weight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Damn it, Tim.
I know. People keep walking by my front door and it keeps catching my periph, and I'm like, who is walking by my front door? But I lost it. Sorry.
Ready. Don't walk in, Tim. Tim will get you.
Mm-hmm.
Tim will get you.
But no, it's definitely important to move with speed, move with intent, and it's it's not always just about lifting something as heavy as you possibly can. We want you to challenge your body in multiple different ways. That's really what it comes down to. And that's what I was going to say. Yes, let's go.
Here it is. We got it.
The only way you're going to get better at a golf swing is swinging a golf club, right? So you might as well spend your time working on your swing when you're doing that, when you're at the driving range or when you're on the course. Mm-hmm. And then when you're in the gym, doing things in your golf stance to try to stretch your hips out. It's probably not the best way to go about it. Why don't you just work on loosening up your hips or moving better, or, have a target, have an intention, do that. And then it'll carry over. Yeah. Then when you get over the ball, you feel, oh, wow, yeah, my legs feel good and sturdy underneath me. Or, when you do finish your swing, if you're used to taking a little step because you lose your balance, you feel strong on that front leg and able to rotate around it. I mean, that's there is our goals for the gym. There are goals for the golf course. They can Venn diagram maybe a little bit and overlap, but for the most part, I keep them separate.
Right. Trainable qualities. All we want to do is improve the qualities that are seen in golf in the gym, right? If I make you really strong in the gym, you don't have to worry about that when you go to the course. You're just stronger. And thus that can then be expressed when you swing a golf club. Exactly. I don't have to make it look like it in the gym. It's the truest of true points.
Yeah. That's where that hits most of it. I just get aggravated too with, like, I'm not a swing coach, but there are a lot of swing coaches for some reason. I'm going to get on a little soapbox that think they're fitness professionals.
Yes.
Where they're, so they're giving you cool looking things that look like a golf swing, and it'll probably help you swing a golf club better. It's not going to make you stronger because you can move. You already have the strength to move your body like that. So if you're looking for getting, more mobile, more strong, less tired, find a professional like one of us, a trainer, someone that knows anatomy, they know exercise, they know the human body, and they can tailor something to you, because the only way to get better at a golf swing is swinging a golf club. That's what the golf pros are for. If you want to work on your body, that's what we know and do. That's what we're here for. Sure.
Honestly, I think it's just so they keep coming back and taking lessons from them, because once they start using some heavy implement, it ends up frigging their swing up, and then they have to come back and they're like, I can't figure my swing out. Let's try this. Oh, your swing still sucks. Come back and see me next week. I love seeing some of these swing coaches, like the guy that I was doing the seminar with yesterday. He'll see you and be like, hey, work on this for like a month.
Yeah.
Come see me in a month or in 8 weeks. He's like, I need you to actually go work on the 2 things I just gave you to go work on, and let's see how it works coming back. That's what we do. It's like, hey, we're going to work on these things right now. I need you to get good at this. And then we can go up the ladder and make things more difficult, or we can tackle some of the heavier things. But if you don't fix these 2 things, or we don't get good at these 2 things, I can't give you the Ferrari. Yeah. You don't even know how to, ride a bicycle at this point. So, we've got to start at a little bit of a lower level.
Yeah, that's the best. That's my guy did the same thing. He's like, do not come back for at least a month.
Yeah.
You need to do this one thing, and until you can do it and it feels normal and you feel good about it, we're not changing anything. It's awesome.
It's true. It's true. And there's no spinning wheels, no spinning rims, no crap.
Nope.
Good soapbox. Short-lived, but a good soapbox.
There you go.
All right, so let's recap a little bit of what we just talked about. So considerations or training considerations for the golfer. Number 1, you guys are probably not pros. If you are, cool. You're awesome, and you're in the 0.0001% of the world, and you probably have a trainer that handles all this stuff. And if you don't, Tim or I are happy to help. Otherwise, for the 99% of you who this is really applying to, your schedules are different, right? So you don't have to work out as many times a week as Justin Thomas or Dustin Johnson or Bryson DeChambeau. You don't have to do the exact same training that they are doing. You need to do something that's specific to you based on your schedule and then based on your expertise. Are you someone who's lifted a lot, or are you someone who's lifted not very? Are you a novice, or are you an expert? That's going to change how programming is done. And you should look at that objectively. If you've never trained, just getting in a couple of days a week might be the absolute best thing that you can do. Beyond that, we talked a little bit about considerations if you're young versus if you're old. Older people are going to tend to have maybe some more comorbidities. We're dealing a little bit more with obesity or high blood pressure or cardiovascular disease and heart disease and pain issues. All of that makes a difference in how you're going to be something, or how something is going to be programmed for you. You might not do the same program as a 25-year-old. Again, like I said earlier, who's full of piss and vinegar and can recover in 2 seconds. Those things make a difference. Pain was another consideration that we made. Have you had pain in the past? Our biggest predictor of future injury is past injury. So those are things that we have to consider when we get your training done. If certain things bother you, we have to be able to work around those. Other considerations, Tim, wrap-ups, thoughts?
No, that's it. I think that's an action-packed episode. Plenty to digest.
And our longest episode?
So far, I think. Yeah, I think 40 minutes was our last longest, so that was good.
10 extra minutes? You guys must have fallen asleep by now.
If they're still listening. But yeah, tons of good info. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, throw us a DM or, drop a comment on the bottom of this video. And we'd love to hear from you. Love to talk about it. Love to help you out if you need something. So give us a shout.
Do it. Let us know. Give us some topics too. If you guys have topics you want us to talk about, drop them. We'll talk about anything. Cats, dogs, dinosaurs, golfers, whatever.
That's it. We can run the gamut. I'll talk about anything.
We could. I gotta be like Manolo. Dude, we gotta get him on this. I don't know if it's possible, but I want him to come on here. Just be like, listen to me, perros.
Maybe we could
doing a good job in here.
I wonder if he's on Cameo. Maybe we just go throw him like $20 for a cameo. The Golf Strong podcast, man. Do it. That's it.
And that's it. Dude, he's such a legend. I love that guy.
He is. He's funny.
I love that guy. It's awesome. All right, people. Well, as always, click that subscribe button. Click the bell notification thingy, because subscriptions apparently mean nothing or something along those lines. I'm not new to this. The old YouTube thing's new. We'll get used to it. But drop us a comment. You guys got questions, concerns, follow us. As always, Tim can be found at Rivotto.golf. And you can find me at Jackson.anchorforge on Instagram and on the Bookface and all of those crazy platforms that you people use. That's it.
Hell yeah. That's it. Peace.
Bye, y'all.